start by defining terms as I use them, because in this kind of explosion of interest and application of things like mindfulness, the word is used constantly and in different ways. And even within a very traditional context, it's used in very different ways. So what in the world do we mean? And then again, compassion or loving kindness is the same thing. So one classical meaning of mindfulness is a quality of awareness where our perception of what's happening in the present moment is not distorted by bias. So old fears, old habits, projections into the future, whatever it may be, may well arise, but they don't take over. A very common one would be something like feeling a physical pain or heartache, and immediately thinking, what's it going to feel like in 10 minutes? What's it going to feel like in a week? What's it going to feel like in a month? So we are not only experiencing the actual distress of now, but we are now adding all of that anticipation to it, often feeling just overcome and defeated and giving up, right? So it's not that the pain feels glorious, and it's not that the impulse to add won't arise, but it need not take over. And so it's the projections, basically it's the add-ons. A story I often tell to illustrate that meaning of mindfulness is I was teaching with my friend, my colleague Joseph Goldstein, somewhere, and Joseph and I were just in the kitchen having a cup of tea. And actually Rob Nairn had organized that course, come to think of it. And someone came into the kitchen in some distress, and he said to Joseph, I just had this really terrible experience. So Joseph said, well, what happened? And he said, I felt all of this tension in my jaw, and I realized what an incredibly uptight person I am and how I always have been and I always will be. And Joseph said, you mean you felt a lot of tension in your jaw? And he said, and I've never been able to get close to people, and it's never going to change. And Joseph said, you mean you felt a lot of tension in your jaw? And it was really interesting for me, like just watching them go back and forth and back and forth. And Joseph only ever said the one thing, this is what your experience is right now. And he kept being met by ever more elaborate stories. And finally, Joseph said something like, why are you adding a miserable self-image to a painful experience? It is genuinely painful to feel the tension in your jaw. But on top of that, you are now going to be alone for the rest of your life, right? So one thing we say in mindfulness is we look for the add-ons, right? We look for what might be added on to the actual more direct experience and see if we can relinquish the hold of those add-ons. Again, it's not that they won't arise, they won't be tempting, but they needn't take over. This allows our awareness to have a much kind of cleaner, clearer shot at seeing what's actually happening.